all the stress and all this chasing after the wind is all because of others, it's meaningless. I hope that I can, as I'm sharing this morning, I hope that I can help release some people from struggling with envy and looking around to others for their worth. So I want to start with talking about, obviously, Facebook and Instagram. Who here has Facebook and Instagram? But most of us. Yep. They're very common words in our society today. You know, social media has become a big part of our lives. And if you don't have it, you can often feel out of the loop. You know, things are just assumed that you should know them because it was on Facebook. How do you know I wasn't pregnant? Well, you know, it was on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. You know, you can be out of the loop if you don't have social media. And it's become a tool that we use on a regular basis. And for most of us, probably on a daily basis as well, like me. It's used for so many good things, though. We can connect with family, friends, you know, long-lost relatives, long-lost friends that have maybe moved away. You know, you can sell things on there. There's even like common interest groups on there as well. Like, I use it all the time for a lot of those things. But there's also some not so great things that it can be used for as well. And those things can actually cause us some serious damage, you know, in the way that we live our lives, in the way that we think, in the way that we do things. And I'm sure there's been many times that you guys have been scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, and you know, you see something or you read something that makes you feel worse about yourself than when you first started. You're reading and you're like, you see someone post a picture, I don't know, about their new car or a new house or a new boat or maybe a family holiday or a new job. And you know, all of a sudden you start to feel these emotions starting to rise up. You know, you get a little bit jealous or a little bit envious. Maybe you even get a little bit angry looking at your own situation. Maybe you get a little bit disappointed in where you're at. Maybe there's sadness that arises from that. And that's all from one picture or one post. You know, you can start down this path of comparison as you do that, and it just seems like it never ends, and it's just a constant reminder every time you go on there. And I'm sure we've all experienced this in different ways, but at some point it can hit harder for you than others. And it just takes that control of us. And it can actually get so overwhelming at sometimes. We even need to have a detox, or we need to span ourselves from going on there because you just get so overwhelmed with everything that's going on. Which is crazy, right? Because it's such a powerful tool that can be used for good, but it can also really put us in a bad place. So we are in part 3 of our series, You're Not the Boss of Me, and we're learning how to say no to the emotions that compete for control. Because we all have emotions that are trying to compete for control in our lives. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Sure. You can't get jealous. That's what I'm talking about this morning. It's all right. That was perfect timing. Yeah, so we all have emotions that compete for our control in our lives, and specifically they compete for the control of our mouth. Our mouths get us in so much trouble when we let those emotions become the boss of us. Things just come out of our mouths. Things we didn't know existed. Things we didn't want to come out of our mouths. And most of the time, it catches us off guard. Where did that come from? You know, we think, you know, where did that come from? Where did that come out of my body? Like, I don't think like that. But I'm going to tell you, well, actually, Jesus is going to tell us. And it's a scripture we've heard over the last couple of weeks. And it's in Matthew 15, 17 to 19. And it says, "Don't you see that whatever enters your mouth goes into your stomach and out of the body?" I probably shouldn't have pointed like that, but we get what they're saying. "But the things that come from a person's mouth come from the heart, and these are what defile them. Jesus is telling us what defiles us to God. It's the things that we say or the things that we do that put us at odds with others. That's what defiles us before God. Jesus is telling us how important our actions and our words are, because our words and our actions are a reflection of the condition of our hearts. That's why when things happen, we don't realize, because it's coming out of our hearts. And we've all said things and done things, and then after the fact, gone, man, I really shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done those things. I don't know where that came from, and I just feel really bad about doing that. I shouldn't have thought those things. It's those things are coming from your heart. It's reflecting where your heart is and the condition of it. And what's in there is what's controlling you. That's why it's coming out of your mouth. Because whatever's in the driver's seat of your heart is what comes out. And what are we letting drive our heart? And I'll let you on a little secret. Just because you didn't mean it or didn't want to say it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt them or doesn't affect them. So we've got to be careful with what we say as well. So instead of dealing with these emotions after the fact, we need to learn to take control of these things up front and not let these emotions be the boss of us. So far, we've covered anger and guilt. And this morning, as Pastor Cav has shared, I'll be sharing about envy. Who thinks envy is a really ugly word? I think it's and we kind of talk it down to like jealousy and things like that. But I think when you say envy, that's what makes us like kind of, it doesn't feel nice when you say it. Oh, I'm envious of you. I envy what they have. It feels like a really dirty kind of emotion. It makes me squirm a little bit. As I was processing and writing this out, like envy is just really powerful in what it does. And there isn't an upside to it. There's not a good side of envy. It's just bad. And as Pauline said with guilt doesn't necessarily have physical outworking or specific actions. Envy is very much the same. It doesn't have specific outworkings or appearances or actions. But it can actually infiltrate all areas of our lives and can take control of everything we do more than we actually realize, if we actually give it the power. So this morning, we're going to learn from someone who is one of the wisest men, King Solomon, because he has some really good things to share and to talk to us about on how to deal with this emotion of envy. So we've got to listen to what he says, because he was the wisest man. But before I want to talk about what happens when we let envy take control, I want to start with what Solomon says. He says in Proverbs 14:30, this is what happens when you let envy take control. But envy rots the bones. And it can't get any more plain and simple as that. But what really stands out is it says rots the bones. It's not it deteriorates your skin or your hair falls out or your mouth falls off. It says envy rots the bones. And that to me shows that it rots you from the inside out, because it starts in here and it just starts to infect everything that you do. There's bones everywhere. So if they're all rotting, your whole body is just falling apart. And that's what really stood out to me. It rots you from the inside out. Solomon knew that it was a silent killer. And I'm not sure we've all experienced when envy starts to roar through our body and we kind of start going, why me? Why God? Why was this situation? Why did I have to have this? It's something that I kind of face on a daily basis as well, having to deal with that emotion of envy. So in my job, I learn a lot about clients' finances, how much they earn, how big their house is, how big or how fast their car is, how many boats they have, all of that. Just the other day, I heard about someone inheriting $20 million. I nearly fell off my chair. Imagine what thoughts were running through my head when I was hearing that. I wasn't going to kill him, no, but I did think about marrying him. So don't judge me, it's $20 million, guys. No, but I had to learn to deal with that when I started this job, because I'm seeing all of that. I start to look at myself and go, oh man, I don't earn as much as they do. You know, how come I don't have all of that stuff? And I started to go, man, should I have taken more risks? Should I have gone to university? Should I have done this? Or how come we moved here? Or why do I want all of these things and now I've got nothing? Or, you know, all those thoughts kind of started running through my head. But what I had to learn to do is not let a good thing be controlled by the negative emotions and the negative thoughts. I had to turn it into an encouragement and a learning opportunity for me to see what I could achieve in myself, not to look down on where I am. And there's a saying that I like to use in my own life that really helps me when I'm in that moment, and it says, the only person I should compare myself to is the me of yesterday, where I was, and where I am now. That's the only person I should compare myself to, because everyone else has a different situation. They didn't have the upbringing that I had. I had a different one. They had different circumstances. The only person I can compare myself to is where I was yesterday. Am I in a better place? You know, have I done the best with what I've got? You know, that's the only person that I can compare myself to. And I think someone here might need to really hear that, to just release that control and the power that envy has on their life, that you don't need to compare yourself to anyone else but yourself and yourself of yesterday. You know, I almost want to give you permission to kind of let that go, that not to sit and just feel trapped by that comparison and by that envy and that jealousy of what's going on. Because it doesn't really matter where anyone else is. It only matters where we are, where you are now. Because if you don't stop yourself being consumed by envy, you actually start competing with others that don't even know there's a competition. You know, you start striving and comparing and doing whatever it takes. You know, you actually lose focus on what really matters and why you're doing what you're doing and who you're doing it for. You know, because you just get so consumed by one up on someone else. You're just trying to get ahead of someone else. And as Solomon says, envy rots the bones. It messes with your heart when you allow envy to be in control. Because you start to smile when someone else fails. When it starts to build up in your heart, you start to feel a little bit better about yourself when someone makes a mistake. You know, you catch yourself dwelling on people's shortcomings, which makes you feel a little bit better about yourself. You can't be happy for people when they succeed. And sometimes you can't even say congratulations, because envy is just so controlling in your life. You know, you get happy about the negative things in people's lives, and then you get sad or annoyed when good things happen to them. And just hearing those things kind of makes you feel a bit icky, don't you think? But here's the truth. We've probably all felt like that at one point. We might be feeling like that now. Something happens and you just are happy when they fail. And whether we like it or not, we have thought those things. So what I want you to learn today from what I'm talking about is when envy is building up and festering inside, I want you to learn how to manage it and not let it be in control. We need to start thinking that envy isn't a problem to solve, it's a tension to manage. It's not something that you can learn about and go, cool, I'm not going to be envious, and it's solved and it never comes back. Envy is not a problem to solve, it's a tension to manage. It's something we're going to have to challenge and overcome on a daily basis. King Solomon provides us a little mental life raft of when we start to drift into allowing envy into our lives. And it's in Ecclesiastes 4, verse 4. And it says, "And I saw that all the toil and achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless." Solomon's saying that everywhere he looks, all the hard work and the achievement and the striving is purely driven by the envy of another person's achievements. Their comparisons against them, what they have, what they don't have, the handouts, the hand ups, the pull down, that's what's driving all of this stuff. And he's saying it's meaningless. It's worthless. And it's a waste of our time. Why would you want to spend your time doing something that's meaningless? Why would you want to get caught up in meaningless things? And then he sums it up really beautifully at the end. He says, it's a chasing after the wind. Have you ever chased the wind before? Did you catch it? It's chasing after the wind. It's pointless. It's unachievable. There's never an ending. When you're chasing after the wind, there's nothing. You're never going to succeed. You're never going to get there because there is no there. There's always something else. All the stress and all this chasing after the wind is all because of others. It's meaningless. There's always another There's always that someone has a faster car or a nicer house than you or a better family upbringing, or there's someone else that's smarter or richer or more hairy than you. It could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, I don't know. It's meaningless because there's never a finish line, there's never an end goal. But what I think as well is we don't actually realize that it doesn't just impact us, it impacts those around us. It can impact your relationship with others because the fact you can't congratulate them on something because of the envy in your life, it causes that tension. It stops a healthy relationship forming. It can also impact your close relationships, spouse, parents, siblings, friends. If you're jealous of their achievements and their upbringing, that can cause tension. That can put barriers in place with those relationships and with those people that are the closest to you. What if their love language was words of affirmation? But because envy is in control, you can't even give them that. It happens in spousal relationships. They're envious of what the other person has or achieves. But it shouldn't be like that. Envy can even steal the joy from our own accomplishments because someone else has achieved it more. And isn't that crappy? That your own achievements can be dwindled down because someone else did it a little bit better than you or achieved a little bit more. Like we talk our own achievements down. So in those moments when you start to feel envy building up and you're drifting and allowing it to start to take over, I want you to think, envy, you're not the boss of me, and I will not chase the wind. We have to learn to take charge and not give in to envy. And we can't let it have control of our hearts or our minds. And I know this might not do anything, but I want you to repeat it after me. We're going to say it together because we need to start taking charge of this emotion in our life. Are you guys ready? Are your vocal cords warmed up? And I want you guys to mean it. I don't want you to sit there and go, envy, you're the boss of me, and I will not chase the wind. Really embarrassed because you're looking, I want you to say it and actually own it and go, no, I am not going to let envy be the boss of me because it is so powerful when we do. So you guys ready? Okay. Envy, you're not the boss of me and I will not. Awesome. Love it. Do you feel better? Do you feel like you're empowered? Not really. That's not, okay. So now I know what you're thinking. You're like, cool, I don't need to do anything anymore because I don't want to chase after the wind. I can just sit back in life and not strive. I'm not going to achieve anything because, I don't want to chase after the wind, and it's biblical. Taylor said it's in the Bible, do not chase after the wind. So I'm not going to do anything. Do you really think Solomon would let us get away with that? He wasn't the wisest person for no reason. He says in verse 5, fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. So not being productive or ambitious isn't the answer either. We have to learn to be ambitious and strive for things not because of others, but for God. He also goes on to say, better is one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. He doesn't say handfuls of nothing. He says one handful of tranquility, and tranquility is simply satisfaction or contentment. So he's saying one handful of tranquility, one handful of satisfaction, one handful of contentment is better than two handfuls of toil, 2 handfuls of stress, 2 handfuls of anxiety, 2 handfuls of pressure, 2 handfuls of comparison, 2 handfuls of never being good enough, never having enough, never being enough. He's saying it's better to have 1 handful of contentment than it is 2 handfuls of that. Because we get stuck assuming that more is better. But chasing that leaves us wanting more. And it's just a vicious circle. If I just, then I will. But now I just, then I will. We get stuck on that train. Better is 1 handful of contentment than 2 handfuls of toil and chasing after the wind. You'll never be who you were born to be as long as you're always looking over your shoulder to see where other people are and what they're doing. You see those people running races, they talk about this all the time. You can't win a race if you keep looking next to you. You've got to look where you want to be. God has given each and every one of us a lane to run in. He has given us this life, the here, the now, your circumstances, your intellect, your upbringing, your family life, your situation. He has given you all of that for a reason. And it's not a setback or a punishment, but it's our job to stay in our lane and change somebody else's world from there. Because we can't change somebody else's world from there if we're envious, because that takes control. That blinds us from looking at others to looking at ourselves. We need to learn from others. We need to be encouraged by them and to learn from them, and not compete against them, because there's no win in comparison. And you guys might remember the old saying, count your blessings, not your neighbours. When I first read that, I'm like, why would you count your neighbours? Like, there's one on one side, there's one on the other. But then I realised, but as followers of Christ, we actually have a calling and an expectation set on us by Jesus. He has called us to love one another, and envy, it gets in the way of that. And it blinds us from loving one another. It says it in Corinthians 1:13, love does not envy. We can't love and be envious at the same time. So when you start to have those feelings of you're not good enough because of this, or what someone else has, if you think that you're not going to measure up because of your family life or your upbringing, or you'll never be as good as them because of what you don't have or what you do have, that's chasing after the wind. I'll never be as good as. Why is my life not like theirs? But I worked really hard and they got it. How come they did? How come I didn't? How come I have this and they don't? All of that is chasing after the wind. And that's meaningless and pointless. In these moments, and I want you to say it in your head when you are in the moment where you're drifting, is envy. You're not the boss of me, and I will not chase the wind. And there might be some of you here that are really struggling with envy. Like I saw up there, family, finances, all of that kind of stuff. It breaks my heart knowing that people are jealous of other people's families or upbringings or finances. And some of it, we're controlled by it. Some of you are really drowning in that envy. And I just want to pray for you guys this morning because it's a horrible place to be in, because you feel like you can never get ahead because you're always comparing yourself. You're always wanting more. So I want to specifically pray for you guys. But then I also want to pray that in those moments we can take control and not let envy be the boss of us. So if you guys just want to pray with me now. Lord, we thank you for your mercy and your grace each and every day. I just pray for those of you that are bound or trapped by envy or jealousy, Father. I just pray that you can release them from that, Lord. I pray that they feel they are worth a lot to you, Father. They are worth the world to you. Lord, I pray you release them, and I pray that you make them feel loved and empowered and encouraged and enough, Father. I just pray for that in your mighty name, Lord. And I just pray for those of us that struggle with it. Lord, I pray that you give us the control, the control to not let envy be the boss of us, because we know what happens when it does. Our bones will rot. Lord, I just pray that you release that pressure and that expectation that we lay on ourselves. I pray that we're filled with your power and your presence to overcome it. And I pray that each and every one of us feel loved. In your mighty name, amen. We're going to sing a song in a moment, and as we do, I want you to really think about the words that they're singing and your own situation. Maybe there's areas of your life, specifically friends or family or work, that you do struggle with envy. And I want you to focus on those areas, because I need you to understand that it's not a tension, it's not a problem to solve, it's a tension to manage. It's something we're going to have to face each and every day. So I just pray that as we sing, we can just really open our hearts and allow us to step into that.